Hello and welcome to Cartoon Overload, a brand new weekly cartoon retrospective show hosted by myself, John Hayes, and the Finn to my Jake, Karl Jacobs. Joining us this week, we have our very special guest, Cool Greg Gettys of Kinda Funny. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Cool Greg.
What's happening, guys? It was so hard for me to not do a fucking "Let's get it" as soon as you was doing that intro. I'm so hyped to be here, man. Honestly, thank both of you guys. I just met you, Carl, but Johnny, I go way back with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah, dude.
We met at the San Francisco meetup, right? Yeah.
100%. It was a great time. I went home, added you. I was still a little drunk, and I was like, all right, let's get this conversation going. But yeah, like Johnny was saying, I'm from San Francisco. I work from Kinda Funny. That's how I know these fine gentlemen right here. I actually know Johnny, like I was saying, for a while now because he was the first person ever to make fan art of me. And I don't want to say fan art because now we're friends or whatever, but that's kind of the definition people know.
That's what it was
right?
at the time. It still kind of is.
And I think since then you've turned me into like John Cena. You've turned me into Jay and Silent Bob with my man Kevin. You know, whole bunch of things. And I really appreciated it, bro. And we've had a great relationship since then. So the fact that you have a cartoon podcast is absolutely perfect in my eyes. In the DMs, I told him, I was like, maybe I'd appreciate you doing some art in the streets a little more. You know, a little writing here, a little writing there. But a podcast for my line of work is it's a great start.
Yeah, thank you. We're really glad to have you. We were talking, and the second we started this, we were like, we gotta have Cool Greg on.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer to have episode 1 be Cool Greg.
Yeah, I was a little embarrassed when I added your guys' Twitter and saw it wasn't following me already. I was like, ah, shit. I gotta unfollow these guys? Because, come on, this is my team. I thought it's like, well, okay, Beast. I feel like I'm a part of the team, guys. Come on.
To be fair, we decided that we were going to start following each guest after we announced the guest.
Yeah. That's cool, because I did see you guys were following the Muppets. Which is interesting call.
We are.
I'm not talking shit, man. I'm just saying. I did my little research.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we made the account, and the first day like followed our own Twitters, and then like the second or third day, I was like, let's just follow all the Muppets. So now we're following all the Muppets.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good choice to follow the guests as well, because it's going to be easier to promote. You know, you're not going to get lost in trying to figure out who's who and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So it'll be great.
Absolutely. It's weird to me how often each of the Muppets tweet, like way more than I do.
That's hilarious, man. If there's any good ones, maybe recommend us. You know, shout them out.
Absolutely. We'll keep them coming.
Yeah, there's gonna be more Muppet content down the line, I'm sure.
Yeah, shout out the boy Gonzo.
Y'all wild.
Oh man. Alrighty. What are we talking about today, Karl?
We're going to go ahead and talk about the Adult Swim original, SuperJail. Its pilot aired May 13th, 2007, with its first actual episode being September 28th, 2008. It started out airing to 0.33 million viewers, so that's pretty light, especially for a Adult Swim cartoon premiere. But season 4's finale actually aired to 1.5 million viewers, so it ended up definitely gaining traction. It has an IMDb of a 7.8, so I guess we could dispute that on if we agree. 7.8.
Do we just want to get right into reviewing it then?
Yeah, sure.
Well, yeah, I kind of have some takes on those little fun facts, right? Like, 2007, I had no idea it's been around that long. Damn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been going.
If I were to guess, I'd say it started in maybe 2009, 2010, which doesn't seem that different from 2007, but it is.
Yeah, here's the thing though, is that the first season ended in 2008, and then the second season didn't even start until 2011. So maybe they had a revival. Late. Yeah.
Interesting. I thought I was there from the beginning. And also, you said 33,000 or 33 million. What was it? For the premiere?
0.33 million, so 330,000.
So you said that to you that seems like it's a little low. What are something to compare that to? Would you expect 0.5 or what?
Probably.
'Cause that sounds like hella.
Around, yeah, I mean it definitely sounds like a lot, but not I feel like in animation cable, especially in the peak being 2008 to 2010, you'd really hope for I don't know, I guess closer to wanting to hit that million.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting, man. Nah, yeah, because even when you just look at the show, it's so dirty in a beautiful way, but so dirty and stuff. I'd always expect it to be kind of underground. You know what I mean? Not to have everybody who's an
it's
Adult
definitely
Swim
got
fan
that vibe to it.
necessarily watching, but yeah, it's interesting. And you said the finale was its peak for what was it?
Yeah,
4 million?
the finale is definitely season 4, which is the last season that it aired, was like averaging anywhere from like 1 million to like its finale actually had 1.5 million viewers.
I don't want to jump around too much, but I do remember I thought they didn't even finish the series. I remember watching it, or was it a show? I just remember
actually,
season 4 not feeling like a real season.
Yeah, they only did 6 episodes for season 4, where they usually just did 10 full episodes for each
I'll be honest with y'all. I don't know if I've ever even seen the finale, like the exact last episode. I don't know, because I never felt like the story got wrapped up. It felt to me like they got canceled out of nowhere.
They did get canceled. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so was it maybe not a real finale? Have any of us seen the finale?
No, there hasn't been a real finale for it. Actually.
Got it. No, I've definitely seen it. If it wasn't like some big celebration like in The Office or whatever, yeah, okay, I've seen it.
Yeah, I don't think they had a full-on like end cap to it all. It just kind of ended up drifting off.
I do have a horrible memory, but I spent just to prepare for you guys' show because I get nervous, man. This ain't no garbage truck on fire, you know. I watched the whole season 1 last night, and it's for free on Adult Swim, which is really dope with them.
Yeah,
they've got the whole series on Adult Swim.
Yep.
Yeah. The notes say it was revealed in 2015's Adult Swim announcement that the show was just quietly not renewed for a 5th season. So
that sucks.
Just kind of
I see it. I mean, I was surprised it had a 3rd season. You know, like it's a real acquired taste of a show. But that's cool, man. I'm excited that at least it had like some eyes on it when it went out. You're saying it went out quietly, but it sounds like a lot of views still.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, like when quietly as in they didn't have any big like push for the finale or send off, or they did. I don't like. I would assume based on that I wasn't watching it live at the time, but I would assume that they probably didn't even have like a final episode of SuperJail tonight. They probably just had here's the new episode, and then they just never put a new one out after that.
Yeah. Well, with a lot of those Adult Swim shows, they're like 15 minutes long, so they kind of go in between. Yeah. They have even I might be wrong, but I feel like they've had a couple that are like even shorter than 15, like 5 to 10 minutes. So sometimes I didn't even feel like the order of the show necessarily mattered. Like it wasn't like every Sunday we were going to go watch Simpsons or whatever if you're keeping up with that, or Game of Thrones or whatever. But with this, it always felt like a random little filler kind of thing they're going to do.
I mean, it premiered at midnight Eastern time, so that's like not exactly a great spot to be premiering at.
But I mean, with the people you'd expect to watch this kind of show, maybe, right? Like it's a real psychedelic, stoner kind of, you know, I don't know, like a misfit kind of show. So maybe they'd be up all night. For sure. And Adult Swim kind of caters to them.
I feel like misfit's definitely like a perfect word to explain it. It's super all over the place, and like it just like it feels like the show is ADD itself, like where it just goes in like different tangents of like just different stuff happening.
Yeah, those big when like most of the episodes end with that like 2-minute long huge monstrous death sequence of like just a bunch of people getting the huge fights, or the something going wrong in the prison and everything just like melting around them. Like those are always so crazy to watch, but also like really fascinating. Like a really cool thing 100%. That I noticed when I was watching it was a lot of the times they don't even cut when they're going through this. It's just the camera keeps moving, or it'll be like a weird transition to show the next thing. So instead of them showing like a monster ripping a guy in half and then throwing his body away and cutting to someone else, they'll follow the like foot that the guy had ripped off of him, and then that foot will fly and like kick someone else in the head, which will make them like fall into like a buzzsaw or whatever, and it just keeps going, and it's this huge like what's the term, like Rube Goldberg machine? I don't know if I got that name right.
No, that's it.
Yeah, it's one of those, but with body parts everywhere, and it's crazy.
I've noticed that as well. They do it on a bigger scale too, where like let's say we're fighting outside of the SuperJail, and there's a fight going on in the SuperJail or whatever. Sometimes like if someone throws something, they'll just follow it, and then boom, right now you're already back in the SuperJail, you know. So it doesn't automatically meet up with like if you were on set of a TV show or something. Like you kind of you'd feel weird, like Family Guy. If you're in the living room and Peter throws a beer and it shows the beer outside, and you're like just at some random store, you're like, hold on, that store is not outside. But here with this show, it kind of like ignores all that, and you kind of feel like it's so crazy that it doesn't matter. You know, like that room could be just right next door. Really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but I like it. It's like an artistic little touch.
Totally.
I want to do a special shout out to the intro for multiple reasons. I know we'll get into that, but one thing I do want to say is the song "Going Back Home." It's so perfect, bro. Like it's really, the show is really about weird animated deaths, but at the end of it, if you want to make it like, whoa, what's this actually about? It's about criminals that are just okay with being criminals, you know? They're okay with it, and they're going to go back to jail, and they've kind of accepted their fate.
And no matter what, nothing's really going to change them.
Yeah, so I feel like the song's just so perfect to go with that. Kind of puts you in that mood of like, yeah, shit is falling apart out here. Like maybe I should just go home. And then the outro. What's up?
What's up? No, you go ahead.
Oh, and then the outro, like he was saying, it's usually some crazy death scene, and like there's an art to it, but it's like a lot of chaos going on, a lot of murder, a lot of violent deaths, and then it's over, probably with a quick little joke or whatever. And then as soon as that outro music, it's like a soothing kind of beat, but it's like, it's like it kind of puts you in that chaotic, like, oh shit, we just went through hell. Like it reminds you, like, this shit was all over the place. Like there's no rhythm to it. I think they did a really beautiful job.
Yeah.
But also,
that opening scene is like so beautiful to me. Like in a way, like it's so like ugly, but somehow like ugly in such like an artistic. It was obviously like an artistic vision to make it as ugly as it is, and like to change the intro every single time. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like whenever what is the robot's name again? The
Jailbot.
Jailbot.
Yeah.
Whenever Jailbot's like bringing that prisoner back into the prison every single time, like it ends up going by like just the weirdest stuff possible.
100%.
And it's different every single episode, and that's wild to me.
Yeah. Just the different ways he goes to jail, and for anyone who doesn't watch the show, and we're kind of explaining it, just picture what The Simpsons does with the different shenanigans on the couch, but the whole intro is different every single time, and the only thing that you have is the same. And like what would be the couch is the robot taking this guy to jail. But even that, sometimes he's hanging by his nuts, sometimes he's hanging in the dumpster. They even switch up that a little bit, which is awesome.
It's wild.
Yeah, you just remind me, for anyone who doesn't know, the whole plot of this show is that the whole thing takes place inside a jail, which is inside a volcano, which is inside another volcano, correct?
Yeah.
And it's just
that sounds
it's super weird and loose with how they handle it, where each episode is just basically the main character is the warden of the jail, who just kind of seemingly has the ability to do whatever he wants.
He's like Willy Wonka.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
That's a really good comparison. He's like Willy Wonka, but with like murdering criminals.
Yeah, they never bring, as far as I can remember, at least not a lot, they never really bring up the fact that he has those magic powers. You know what I mean? So he'll do some crazy shit, and it kind of just goes unseen, unnoticed.
The weirdest thing, I was talking to John
that it's part of the world.
I was talking to John setting this all up, and they didn't even like specify his name. His name is literally just the Warden, which is pretty wild.
Well, they've never said his name?
They never once.
Yeah, I've always called him the Warden, but I didn't realize we didn't know his actual name. That's cool. That's actually really dope.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
because there's like no backstory. You know what I mean? Like, it's giving you very little information, so he's whatever. But we do know
he's such a genuinely lovable character too.
He's in the prison system because his grandpa left him it. I know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he's just trying to like make his grandpa proud, and his grandpa was always like, "Nah, these robots and this super jail ain't gonna work. It's all about regular jail." And he was just like, it's like the reason he's so passionate about having super jail is to get back and prove his family wrong or whatever.
I love it.
Yeah, this was I found a whole new appreciation for the show going back and watching it, because as far as I had remembered before, like when you said we're gonna do Super Jail for this episode, was mostly those like the crazy death scenes and just how weird it was and how like it had that unique style. But going back, there's like a lot of heart behind this, and points when it's like really wholesome and you just kind of really want the warden to succeed, and like they get a lot of that what he's really passionate about.
Yeah.
Through all of the chaos, and I think that works so well in its favor for something that I totally didn't realize had that much like heart behind it.
Yeah, and it's wild to me that they can make, like, you literally just called the warden, that it definitely has like over 1,000 kills. You called him wholesome, which is just wild that they're able to make him that wholesome. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you've never seen Super Jail before, like you love the warden. He's such like a genuinely wholesome, like nice,
this is a really
great
fun
character.
He has a pure. I would say if you're familiar with Kind of Funny, I do a lot of fucked up shit, but they always starting to call me the pure one. I'm pure of heart or whatever. And I think he has a lot of that, where it's like even when he's messing up, he's not really thinking about it fucking up over people, like other people fucking them over. He's just more about, I'm trying to have a good time. I don't really see the wrong in this, and let's just go for it.
Yeah.
But you're completely right. Like he's, like you said, 1,000. I would say it's closer to 1,000,000. Like, he's killed a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure that they said how much inmates was in that jail, and it was like, I think it's like 1 million a day get processed or something like that, or like 100,000 a day get processed. So
yeah,
it's
I think that was one of their like throwaways to make sure that they can constantly have bodies going.
100%. And that's another thing too, whereas obviously we're cartoon fans, and not all the cartoons you watch are made for adults. And nowadays, a lot more of them are, and you can say made for adults, and they get more childish than ever. You know what I mean? It's just all poop jokes. It's like, this is made for adults, though. How's that work? But when you place something that's like about violent killings and stuff like that, how this show more or less is about, and you put it in a jail and like a prison, like, I'm not trying to talk shit on inmates, because obviously, for y'all the guys, but it kind of makes it easier to watch all these deaths, knowing these are horrible people. And most of the time they ever get a chance to, even the inmates team up and go against another team or whatever. It's like, they're really always very selfish about it. They're always going to fuck over the next person next to them. So you always get the sense like none of the inmates are okay people at all. They're all horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it makes it easier to digest.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about how there's that difference between shows that are like made for adults and made for kids. And I think this does it in a really interesting way that we don't see a lot, where it uses a lot of influences from kids' cartoons to make a really weird adult version. Like, there was an interview with the creators where they had cited Looney Tunes, Itchy and Scratchy, The Muppets, and Pee-wee's Playhouse as big influences.
Pee-wee's is super random. Oh, I guess for the
but you can
kind
of see it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
where it's got those like weird visuals and everything's just kind of doing its own thing, and you can see the like, what's the word I'm looking for? The commonalities between the two, where you can definitely see where you look at that and you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely like a Looney Tunes joke if there were actual repercussions.
Yeah.
Where it's instead of it just being Daffy Duck's nose gets blown backwards, it's the guy's head gets blown off. But it's still like the setup and the punchline more or less are something that you could see in those styles of shows, and it gets super cartoony and takes full advantage of the medium, which I love to see in cartoons when they really do go all out. Because like, it's one thing to be able to make a sitcom but have it animated and you use a couple jokes for, you can have a character get hurt because they can get hurt, but this, at every angle in every way they can, totally takes full advantage of the fact that they can do whatever they want whenever they want, and I think it's really
smart. As soon
as
you said that word animated, I realized, man, we gotta shut this show down. Let's start over. Fuck SuperJail. The Kind of Funny animated show should have been the show I picked. What am I thinking?
That would have been
free promo.
Really funny.
That's a free promo right there. And
next time, man.
Season 2. Season 2.
That is good.
But yeah, SuperJail. I could, when I was asked to be on this show, or invited, I should say, I started thinking about going back and forth with Johnny. Like, obviously I have like shows that I appreciate and I remember a little more fondly than this show. Like, I would never say this is my favorite cartoon. I just thought we could have a great discussion about it. I don't think other people would necessarily pick it. I hit up my boy Rudio.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, he's Kind of Funny best friend. I was like, what would you go with? And he's like, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good one. I have a lot of memories. I'm sure all of us have separate memories, and it'd work great. But I decided to go with this because I remember, like he said, 2007. I thought it was more like 2009, 2010, because that's when I was influenced to it, or when I found out about it. Man, we're talking cool Greg, 17, 18 years old, never smoked before in his life. You know what I mean? Going home high out my mind, like, yo, this show is crazy. I just got out of jail, and that was one of the craziest experiences for me because I went to jail as an innocent man. So, you know what I mean? You go to jail, couldn't regret nothing. You know what I mean? I was just like, this whole world is changing on me, changing quick. And when I saw this SuperJail shit, man, all the inmates just killing people, getting killed and everything, it just felt like a little, not relatable, but it was different. It was a breath of fresh air, or a nasty breath, but it was something something different, and that's really the main reason it sits so fondly with me.
I feel like nasty breath of fresh air should be like its slogan.
Yeah,
that's
that
like
really
so
works
on
with it.
brand.
Yeah, because it really is. I can't think of another show that's exactly like this, or if I could say like, oh, you should watch SuperJail if you like these things. Like it's very,
It's
you
very
just
much its
gotta
own
watch it.
thing.
But
Yeah.
like,
I would start just by saying if you like that late night Adult Swim kind of
Mhm.
crazy psychedelic violence, right?
I guess like
Yeah, I think-
Metalocalypse style.
yeah, that's a good one. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any like jump off points you wanted people to start out with if they were to get into it, or what do you think? Like, what's a notable episode for you?
It's gonna sound weird, but I think honestly, the one that they play on Adult Swim the most might be like the second episode, and it might even be the first or the the show they put out to see if people like it or not.
The pilot.
The
yeah.
pilot, yeah, it might have been one of those, but it's the one that I think really sums it up is the wolves versus the bunnies. I don't know the name of the episode, but it's within the
Bunny
first
Love,
couple
I
of
think.
episodes. And yeah, he for some reason the warden decides to get half. I think he decides for only bunny outfits, but for some reason half wolves, half bunnies come, and it kind of starts like a in prison riot, like gangs kind of form, even though they weren't supposed to form, And I think it just kind of gives you a good sum up of the whole thing because after, I don't know, maybe halfway through the second season, I feel like they took a real approach on trying to have more of a story and less random
Yeah, for
bullshit.
sure.
And I don't know if this show necessarily needs a story, but I could see being in your second, third season why you would do that. But
Yeah.
once the story gets involved, I feel like it's not what it was. I'm not gonna say it's better or worse, but it's definitely not what it was in the first season. First season's the highlight to me.
Yeah, for sure.
And I could see that being partially, like, in part because of the fact that there was such, like, a gap. Again, there was, like, 2 or 3 years between season 1 and
That's
season
true.
2 coming out. So, like, maybe...
See, I didn't know about the
didn't
gap.
really-
I always thought they fell off. But you're 100% right. That's a great reason why.
So I mean, like, I know 3 years ago I was not in the same mindset as I am today. So
Yeah.
that could probably do a lot to writing and writing styles.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys have any specific characters that you really like jump to, other than the warden? Like we talked about the warden a little bit, but there's a lot of really
He's the
funny
best
little
one.
one-offs and stuff.
I do like all the cafeteria ladies. They are every time they
Yeah.
get introduced, they're violent and they win. Like they go crazy. So I do like that. It reminds you of that stereotypical cafeteria lady you'd expect Bart to be dealing with, where she was kind of evil and just kind of
Yeah,
ignoring him
exactly.
and giving him half a scoop instead of one scoop or something like that. But here instead, it's like you give him some back lip and he's just cutting your head off.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I
How
love
about
feeding
the
you for dinner,
twins?
too.
Oh man, the twins. They're so good. That's such a weird joke
I
every time.
hate the twins.
Yeah.
I
You
think
gotta
they're,
love
I think
them,
they're
though.
probably. It doesn't. It's not like I love hate. I really think it's like probably the worst part of the show. Them twins.
Oh, really?
Probably.
And I'd say it's the same thing with Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Is those little alien robot things?
Oh, the Moonanites?
Hands
I like
down,
the
the worst part of
Moonanites,
the show,
man.
man. I don't get it. That humor just is totally over my head, man.
I think the twins are so funny in the fact that they like thrive, like where other prisoners accept the fact that they're going to be in jail for the rest of their lives. I feel like it almost feels like they by choice like just thrive in the jail.
Yeah.
So
Or like anytime chaos is happening, it's that weird like it'll cut to them out of nowhere, and I always forget that they're a part of the show until they show up, and then it's one joke.
Yeah.
That pretty much the punchline is them just being like, "Oh, mayhem, yay!" and then they vanish, and it's
Yeah.
really weird. And
so what do we?
I don't
think-
usually laugh, but it's memorable.
Are they? I've always got the sense that they're like the warden's boss in a sense of like they're part of the committee that kind of allows him to do the whole interdimension kind of shit,
Oh yeah, I never thought about that, but maybe.
Because when he went to court one time, I remember they were in. I'm not gonna say the jury, but they're in the audience. So I felt like they had
yeah.
more power than other people. I kind of felt like they were just coming to fuck with him, like almost like it's like in Rick and Morty, there's other dimensions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
would just come back and kind of be like, you're the smart Rick, but like you're not smarter than us.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were doing something with that. I don't exactly remember all the beats of the story in the later seasons,
Yeah.
but maybe that was like a thread that they had kind of laid, because early on they were very much like one-off jokes, and for the most part they are still that same one-off joke, but I could definitely see them trying to do something with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, I'm looking at like a wiki for it, and it says they took a 1 year trip to Earth and then decided to stay. And yeah, I mean, it seems like they're there by choice. And
yeah,
like,
so they're not even inmates. So they're just
yeah.
not bosses or inmates. They're just hanging out because they got all that power.
Yeah, and the weirdest part is that it doesn't really like, it doesn't seem like they have any like it doesn't seem like they have any bad intentions almost necessarily. Well, I guess that's not true, but it feels like everybody that does like killings in this show isn't necessarily like because they have any hate, especially with like the warden specifically. Like when he kills people, it almost just feels like he does it just like because it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see that like spin on life.
Yeah, now I fully understand. I mean, I fully agree because they've done some evil stuff. Because I know they've done things that are, like would mess with people. Like there'd be episodes where you got to get to the end of the race or whatever, and if you get to the end of the race, you live. And they replaced the end of the race, so like you couldn't get to the end of it. You know what I mean? So I know they've done crazy things like that to like kind of ensure people die, but it's always been like, you know, if you're stealing the prize, it's still kind of funny and everything. So you're not really thinking about the person actually dying.
Yeah.
More just like setting chaos.
And yeah, that's the thing is I like that they never give the warden, like they never make him an asshole about it, and they never have him be like, oh, I can't wait to kill these people. He's always just like he's like, I'm gonna bring a new activity into the jail, and then it always goes wrong and ends up with a lot of people dying. But he's never like, I don't think his goal in any of them is ever to try and be mean about it. He's just trying to like do something new and different.
Yeah, and I think that's how he gets away with killing so many people, but still being so like lovable.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that mix that with the fact that they're inmates. You know what I mean? That's why it's so easy to watch all these people die, because you're like, it's not like real passionate murder. It's just more like, these people happen to die very violently. Whatever. SuperJail. What do you think of the exclamation points? It's in the name, right?
Yeah,
I think it's part of the official name.
It's weird. I'm not saying it's bad or good. It's just weird.
I like it. I think it fits it where it's I like that the idea is if you're technically reading the title with the correct pronunciation, you have to yell it.
Yeah.
And that suits the show.
It really does. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would like to take a quick second to talk about Jailbot, because I think he's just a really funny robot. Anytime they bring him in, I always like, it's always weird little off jokes, but I genuinely laugh at most of them. And they also, there's some like really good points of when Jailbot ends up just going and killing a bunch of people, where it's like whenever people are fighting back and it's just like the little like angry face emoticon shows up on the screen instead of the like, that's such a weird,
it's little tears,
little good, exactly,
And then also like there's like, it feels like it's once every episode or two where the warden's just like, hey, get that, and then the robot will just run straight towards it no matter how many walls or people are in the way.
all the walls and everything in the way, and it just bashes through it all.
It gets me every single time it happens. Like, it's so
Yeah, there was, because I recently totally rewatched season 1 like over the weekend to like give myself a catch up, and there was a point when it wasn't even like they had told him to go get some. It was, I think a mouse runs by, and that's the first time I think he says the go get that, and then he chases it through all the walls being busted down. And then like 2 or 3 episodes later, during all the chaos of the final fight, the camera just pans down to the robot still chasing the mouse.
Oh my god.
And that's such a like weird little detail that they totally didn't need to do.
Yeah.
That got one of the biggest laughs I think out of me rewatching it, when it was just this, there's all of this nonsense going on and that's all the story, and they just take 2 seconds to totally go away from it and like pull back another beat of that same joke that still like manages to work that well.
100%, man.
Like,
that's a weirder one, a weird callback, but definitely appreciated it. I think I remember that exact episode too, man.
I think
the robot.
I think like all these characters like coming together, all of them being so like just weird and like terrible in their own rights, is like all of it accumulated is really what makes it this show, where it's just like all over the place, and in theory there shouldn't be anything likable about any of these people, so the show shouldn't work. but for some reason it all just comes together and works so perfectly.
Except for Lil Bruh, who's like the assistant to the warden.
Yeah.
He I don't think he's ever done anything bad. Like, I mean, sometimes he'll go crazy, be like, "Fuck this," and he'll like snap. But like, even then, it's because he got pushed to the edge.
That's Jared.
Yeah, he's always trying his best. And then what was the one they have like? Oh, it's when they're gonna open the bar. I think that's the pilot actually. When they're gonna open the bar in SuperJail.
Oh yeah, Super Bar.
And then
that's the first actual episode.
Okay, yeah. So the first actual episode where it is that he's like, I'm gonna open the warden decides he's gonna open a bar in the jail, and then his assistant's like, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I probably shouldn't. This probably isn't a good idea. And then the warden's like, perfect. Then you know enough about drinks to be the bartender. And like, they all treat him so horribly.
Yeah.
But like almost unintentionally.
Yeah, totally. Where it seems like they're all totally oblivious to them doing anything to hurt him or get him mad or whatever. And there are a couple good moments of him totally snapping. I think there's a similar one where he's trying to like eat healthy, I think it was. And then there's just a bunch of like you know the like the dancing popcorn from like the in between the trailers of the movies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of little like food like that dancing on his table being like, come eat us, and it's all like donuts or whatever. And then they just have him totally break down, and it's shot or like animated, I guess, the same way as like the brutal death scenes, but it's all of this food that he's eating. And I think that was their way of being like, well, we can't have him murder actual people, so we'll just have him totally break down and eat a lot of candy and like junk food.
Yeah, I remember that episode definitely. I might be mistaken, but I think that might have been the one where they brought the guy in the dumpster, and some of the food leaked once he got thrown into the jail. Like, you know, in the
I
intro.
wouldn't be surprised.
Because I remember they threw in some like hamburgers and stuff, and he's like, "Oh shit, I remember this before I worked here or whatever. I love this food." But I do remember that, man. The animation is just so dirty that it fits murder. You know what I mean? It fits that lifestyle. It fits any kind of violence and any kind of like gory blood scenes. I think this animation is perfect for it. It looks a lot better than if you were to see like Family Guy, Simpsons, any of these other Looney Tunes, any of these other. It's very similar to like he was saying, Itchy and Scratchy. I never knew that it was influenced by that, but that makes the most sense out of like most things we've spoken about.
It feels like an uglier but more stylistic Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, a little more detail.
Wise. Yeah.
And
I can never get into Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
I think one of the main creators, I might be wrong on this, Carl, you might have to fact check it, but I think one of the main creators used to be like a background artist on Daria and also did like some work on Beavis and Butthead.
I know one of the creators got, like, for sure did the background for Daria. I remember that for sure.
Yeah.
Let me check that.
But yeah, there was...
Side note, any thoughts on Daria?
I like Daria. I think it's fun.
I could never get into it.
I haven't seen it super recently, but I like her as a character.
Tina from Bob's Burgers is like the only Daria I respect. I feel like that whole character was stolen from Daria, but like, what's she going to do?
Yeah, pretty much.
I really know Daria from like, I wouldn't say she's a meme, but she was kind of more famous on her own than she was for the show. Like, I would see her randomly in like, kind of like a meme before memes, you know, like memes like
you could like see people
stores.
Wearing like a Daria t-shirt and you'd know her from like, oh yeah, that's like Daria on that t-shirt, even if you haven't really seen the show.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, it could be one of those. Since we were talking about all the creative and weird killings in there, are there any that stick out in your guys' heads of like the huge death sequences or the interesting kills and stuff that because I've got one if you want me to start.
Yeah, start off. I have one on my mind, but
so there is an episode where there's like some ice monster that gets out and starts like throwing icicles at people, and then the jailbot during all of this is like going crazy and killing all the inmates. I don't remember why, but it just randomly cuts to like a control room of people working in SuperJail, and on the massive TV they're playing Tetris, and it's just you see like one Tetris piece go down, and then you see that they need the big like eye block in a spot to clear a full row and get a Tetris, and like they place it in the wrong spot and they all go and then it cuts to a different angle and you see that TV they were watching is a giant box, and all of the Tetris pieces were different inmates that were crushed by Jailbot into the different shapes of Tetris pieces.
Damn.
And he's dropping them into this giant box after they've all been mangled. And it was just such an immediate shocking, like, oh my god, to see just like Tetris pieces made up of like 3 different people just squished together. It was horrifying, but I laughed so hard because I so wasn't ready for it.
Was it the twins doing that?
No, it was Jailbot.
No, but the people watching the screen playing the video game, was it the twins?
Oh, it might have been.
Because that's the only I kind of remember that, but I'm not 100% sure. But
I just
when
remember
it
cut
was
to
twins.
2 people looking at a TV. I think it was the twins.
That
yeah,
makes
that
sense.
would add up. Yeah, that it's the 2 of them playing Tetris, you think, and then they're like, "Oh, we lost at Tetris," and then it cuts back to Jailbot. Like,
yeah.
Horrible.
It just shows how they just love chaos. They'll play games with it. You know, they don't care.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
I think the season 1, episode 1. I know we've been talking about that one a lot, but when Super Bar, the action sequence, whenever like the water just infiltrates like the whole prison, and it's just like a battle underwater with all like the sea animals, and then it ends up being that the prison guard Alice ends up just like annihilating everybody.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
That reminds me of what were we just talking about, man? Because when they were underwater, how do they? Oh yeah, because we were talking about. So you know how the whole show we said earlier is a volcano, like within a volcano, under a volcano.
Yeah.
But then you look out a window and you see a huge lake. You know, that's how the water flooded this whole episode. So it's like none of it really makes sense, and it goes into the way we said the art, where it's like you can look over and it totally changes it, but you know to keep up.
I think
episode to episode they're having a lot of fun with it.
Exactly. And I also think like just even from like the pilot in episode 1, like we kind of knew that there wasn't going to be any continuity from episode to episode or even scene to scene. Like when people die, they could just come back no matter what. Like it doesn't really matter. And I think when all that goes like out the window, it's like it makes for like an interesting experience.
I think it sets you up to think that, even if it's not. I mean, it's probably intentional, but even if it's not like super immediate, is the intro you were saying where they go through different levels, Iceland or you know Toothland or whatever, you know, all these little different things. It kind of says like, well, you know, when it starts the episode, it's supposed to be like the dirty part of America, right? Like this is an average criminal in America or whatever. Like this is a real city. It's supposed to kind of be real, you know, other than the robot.
Yeah.
But so like once you start going through, it's like, well, these are make believe places. You kind of get the feel that it's like in some other ass land, you know, so the rules of reality don't really apply.
Absolutely.
Hey, my bad, is there a way I can hit the bathroom?
Oh yeah, totally, you're fine. Okay, so we'll go ahead and come right back once Cool Greg gets back.
Alrighty, and we're back. So where were we? Interesting kills. There was another one that I am thinking of. I think it might actually be from that first episode, so I'll say it right now. For sure, if you're listening to this, watch the first official episode, Super Bar, because that is an excellent 12 minutes of animation or whatever it is.
And it really just like sums up what the whole show is going to be. Yeah.
But yeah, it is a very quick one where it's like a bunch of inmates in a world made of candy, and there's like a bunch of candy, like chocolate truffles or whatever, like getting them to like mine other chocolates or whatever, and then it zooms out and is it Alice that's the name of the guard? Yeah, and then it's just Alice lady holding this box of truffles, and then she just like eats one of them and then it moves on.
I don't even remember that scene.
Yeah, it's just a really weird little like 30-second bit of you just think that you're going to spend time in this candy world, and then it zooms out and you just find out that I guess a bunch of prisoners were shrunk down and then put to work in a box of chocolates mining the chocolate, but also commanded by the chocolate. And then Alice just eats one of them and then it moves on and never addresses it again. Like
and the worst part is that it's so like fast paced that you can't even like you just don't even get to process it. You just have to keep moving, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then if you do stop to be like, wait, what was that? Then 3 more things are already going on screen, so you just kind of got to keep up with the show, and that's like what you've got to deal with at that point, as opposed to like worrying about what is going on, which is where this show I think shines, is that it very much is driven by the art, and I would love to see like storyboards for this, to see the full layout of it, because it is a show that benefits so much from the movement and the camera work and the how they position things on the screen and get it to go from point A to point B, that like I don't think stills of this show do it justice in the slightest.
They definitely don't. I think the camera work is definitely where it shines. And
Yeah.
I think growing up, I never really gave the show a chance growing up. I kind of like saw it and it came and went. And
hold on,
like,
how old were you, bruh?
2008. I was
so we're
not,
talking
definitely,
sober, Karl?
I mean,
if we're talking sober, Karl, you have no business watching this shit anyways, man.
How old was I? Let's see. 2008.
2008, I would have been 7 up until October, so I was 7 or 8 when this show premiered.
Yeah. I was like 9 or 10.
This is not made for y'all, man.
I mean, coming back now, like I always thought it was just like a poop joke, like toilet humor type stuff, and I think, like looking back, I like didn't give it enough credit. Like it's a lot more than just like don't judge a book by its cover type deal for this. I don't know.
Yeah, like it isn't itchy and scratchy in the sense of just random violence. You know, like we related a few times to that, but like there is definitely a even if it's not a good story, there is an overall story trying to be told, or something at least trying to be accomplished.
But yeah, it's it's very good at setting out to be more than what it could have just been. Because if you pitch a show now that is, it's a animated show for adults that takes place in a jail, you're gonna think that it's gonna be like, it's like Archer but in a jail, or it's like Rick and Morty but in a jail, where it's like there's gonna be like 12 characters that you follow, and it's always gonna be the same 12 characters, and it's gonna be a lot of like sitting around and talking and discussing things, but like also about what happens in the jail. But this totally just has as much fun as it can with it, and like really pushes at every like chance they get.
It definitely like breaks the mold. Like it I that's like where we have trouble being able to like compare it to another show, is because it really like there's no comparison to, like I could see some aspects of like Rick and Morty being inspired by this in the terms of like Rick just killing off a character and not really caring about it and moving forward.
And a sense of different dimensions.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of the crazy visuals and stuff, you can definitely track it back to. Honestly, I'll say that now. If you're someone who likes Rick and Morty and likes a lot of the weird, crazy sci-fi stuff that they do on that show, I would definitely give SuperJail a shot, because it really is one of those, this is a strong, you think Adult Swim, this is exactly what you're getting, where it is that weird, experimental, very much doing its own thing, and super proud of it. Like it's never ashamed to.
The only difference that stands out to me between this and Rick and Morty is I think Rick and Morty could I could probably watch the audio version of any episode and still get a couple laughs out of me. I think this is, you need to be watching it. There's a lot of things that there's a lot less jokes that are verbal than there are just things to watch that kind of are cool, or whatever you want to call it, you know. But it's worth you need to watch.
Not only that though, but like especially like also I feel like I watched like probably 20 episodes like in the past little bit, and like I was watching it while I was working, and there was so many times where I needed to rewind because I found myself like just not understanding a second of what's happening because I missed like a minute, you know what I mean? And it's wild that much can happen in a minute, to where you're like, what
you're in
just
a completely
happened?
Different place over 45 seconds of I had kind of a similar situation where I was drawing while I was watching it, and I just kept realizing that I would look down at my drawing and I'm like, I haven't gotten anything done in 30 minutes because I've just been so like
head in a different place.
Yeah, exactly. I'm focused. So completely focused on the show, and like there's never a point in the show where it's like breathing room of like, there's gonna be like 3 minutes of like just the warden and someone like bidding and talking back and forth to each other. It's always just go the whole time, and it like, but it doesn't get exhausting was the thing.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely see other people, if they tried to do the same thing, having all of this and it just feels like sensory overload and it's way too much for you to like actually enjoy any of it. But there's enough going on, but it's all placed at the right timing and all like the pacing of the show is so good at what it does despite being like rapid fire. And even if it isn't a spoken joke every minute, probably every like 5 seconds there's something on screen that's like
100%.
weird or funny, and if you're not out loud laughing at it, you're at least getting a good like chuckle or a grin, or sometimes you're like, oh, that's disgusting, but it's getting some sort of reaction out of you the whole time. Like there's never a point where you're bored.
I think a perfect example of like what you were Johnny's last point and Johnny's point now is like what you're saying, like the camera angles and the how they actually, I'm not gonna say film it, but you know what I mean, what it seems like what the camera would be filming compared to what you're saying now is there's one murder I remember, and it was, again, I know we're fucking losing fans every time we say this, but it's in the first season somewhere, and he throws let's call it a hammer or a knife, it doesn't matter. He throws a knife and it's going straight at you vertically, right? Goes through one person, goes through the next person, then randomly as fuck it goes horizontal, goes through that guy, then goes right back to being vertical. And it's like, why did the weapon just change what it did? It was only to kill differently, and it had no, like, there's no explanation of it having its own brain or anything like that. It's really just for the sake of it looking cool, and that's something I can appreciate. So like, that's a visual gag, I'd say, where it's like it's not gonna get a real laugh out of you, but you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, you know, like that didn't make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's like visually smart, and I think it's hard to make visual jokes that are smart. Like, it's generally speaking, I don't know.
Yeah, it's visually smart and also visually disgusting. Like you see rabbits get their fur ripped off, and then he wears it as a hat and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really gross, but it does it in such a funny way that like there's definitely shows that have done gross out humor similar to this, where it is just excessive murder and stuff that I've totally not found funny, but this does it in such a like weird, refreshing way that I love it and I can't get enough of it.
I was gonna say that. I think like, did you ever watch the Cartoon Network show The Problem Solvers?
No.
Yeah.
Is that the two brothers?
It's like it's just really bad.
I don't think I've seen it.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, you shouldn't see it. It's a bad show. But I was gonna say, it seems like what like it tried to do was bite off of the same flow of like just absolutely blasting your face with like a bunch of stuff going on at the same time, and like almost you don't really know what to focus on. But it definitely didn't execute it as well. I feel like it would be really hard to execute SuperJail's premise as good as SuperJail did.
Yeah, I think it's there's a really good, you were saying where you don't know what to focus on. I think SuperJail does a great job of your eye is always moving. They always have something to attract your eye to, and that's what's moving you to the next scene. So you're never getting, like, it's very rare that they'll have something like, say, fly left, and that'll be the big thing, and then the camera will transition right. It's always that thing is flying left and you're following that thing, and then the camera stops, and by the time it's moved by, there's something else for you to focus on, and it's very readable despite all of the chaos. And that's something that was definitely really carefully planned out, and everyone who animated it like really had to sit down and make sure that you like keep your interest. And I think a good thing with that the joke with the knife that you were talking about, Cool Greg, was that's a point where if it's just the same like static image of a knife coming at you vertically for like 4 dudes, then by the time you're past like the second guy, you like know what to expect, and they like just change it up a little bit, then you notice that it turns, and then while you're already trying to figure out why it turned, and by the time it turns back, like you've got enough going on there that changes that it still keeps you in it and still keeps you like focusing, and you're never one step ahead of them. Like they're always ahead of you with whatever craziness they're doing.
That's true. I never feel like I know what's going to happen next. It's always like, what the hell's going on? One episode that stands out to me is I forgot what he was. He was like a rock star mixed with a cult leader, and he came to the into the prison or whatever, and you know, you get the feeling that cult leader, so he's selling something fake. And then at the end, it I don't want to do spoilers, but it kind of was like real. So I kind of got I finished the episode thinking like So this was like kind of like a nothing episode. Like I enjoyed it, but like it's like the dude who was finessing these guys kind of got finessed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nothing really actually happened. Everybody was right and everybody was wrong at the same time. Really weird, but it's entertaining, man. It's cool.
Yeah, for listeners, by the way, that's season 1, episode 5, and we're talking about Negaton.
I need some.
Yeah.
We need to bring up some of the rest of the seasons. I wish I could tell the episodes apart more because at 2 and 3 I'm very familiar with. 4 is the only season that I've only seen maybe, I don't know, tops like 4 or 5 times through every episode.
Okay. Yeah, you got me beat.
Yeah, you definitely have both of us beat. But
hey, well, I picked this show for a reason, man. I'll fuck with it, dude. It's relatable. It's dirty, man. You know what it really reminds me of? Those like old sailor tattoos. You know, like the ladies or like the tattoos that sailors would have. It's that kind of griminess, but in a cartoon. So it's like it is visually appealing, but it's also a step back, and we know we could do better now.
Yeah. Such a genuine deep cut, but like so extremely just true to what it is.
Yeah, that really is it. I would never have said that, but that's totally correct.
Thank you.
By the way, everybody, just for the record, I know we already said this earlier, but if you haven't seen SuperJail, or if you have, it's completely free on Adult Swim. So you just like look it up. You could stream it for absolutely free. You don't have to pay. There's no like wall. So you guys definitely need to.
Yeah, going forward, you should guys for your next guest. I don't know what you guys have planned, but think about that. Like that's a good idea. That the fact that we could watch it. So if it's on Netflix or if it's on Hulu, whatever, make sure they know where to find it. Cause that if I'm watching this, I definitely would go back and watch some SuperJail now.
Absolutely.
And also tweet at us your opinions. Leave comments about your opinions. Because if we were wrong, I want to hear it.
Yeah, totally. I do want to hear what other people think about everything we say or these shows, and I don't know. I think this is a really fun thing to revisit because it was something that, like you said, SuperJail in the chat, and I think my immediate reaction was like, "Damn, that's a cut." Like that's like I was not expecting you to go with SuperJail, but this immediately made me like really excited to do this whole show because it was as I started watching it, I was like, the whole kind of reason we started this is because we love cartoons already, and this is just like really reinforcing that there's so much good to find in these shows. And
well, when you asked me to be a part of this, I was telling you I was very vocal. Like I ain't no historian. I'm not one of these smart kids, man. I'm one of these dumb kids. So I'm passionate though, and I do love cartoons, and I'm very open about that. And I'll talk to you about anything you want me to talk to you about. But if we're talking cartoons, SuperJail is definitely in the conversation for me because I don't think it gets enough light. I think it does deserve a little bit more views, and it's unique. I think the crux of this whole episode has been it is unique. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where we sum it up at.
And that's why I think SuperJail is such a perfect first episode for this show because I'm super excited to like. SuperJail is not anything I would have ever in a few years at least consider going back to rewatch. Just
100%.
Like, I don't know. It was never something that really caught me growing up, and now like I'm so glad that I got to like go back, and I'm definitely gonna be having that on in the background.
Hell yeah. Hopefully we do that, going forward, whatever you guys choose to do with this show, however often you do it. Hopefully we can do that with the next episodes too, like give them a reason to go back and be like, people do appreciate this. I'm sure there's going to be episodes about, Adventure Time. That was another one I was like, ooh, I could probably say a couple cool things about Adventure Time, But I'm happy that we landed with SuperJail. I'm happy that we're keeping it real dirty and gutter for my episode.
So I guess we should move on with, do we recommend the show to people watching? I guess we technically have been answering that the entire episode.
But to give a specific, I would say that for sure watch, the pilot obviously, like start out with those first couple episodes. I would say watch through the whole first season, and then if you like that and you're enjoying the show, then you can stick around for the rest of it. If you don't love the first season, I don't know how much more they're gonna get out of when it starts to dive more into the characters and stuff, because it's not like I don't think anyone would really be there exclusively for the story over the visuals and the style of it. I think that's a much that's where it shines way more, and I think that's where I stand.
I think season 1 definitely just start from the beginning. I would like this seems pretty obvious, but there's definitely going to be episodes where we say like skip over a certain section of the cartoon. But I think season 1 is so perfect to start in because in the later seasons, more specifically like season 3, it gets more in depth with like the stories and storylines and like actual arcs going on.
Is that season 3? I was trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, because it gets weird. Not bad, just a little different.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I just say start out with season 1. It's more overview of the whole jail as a whole, and if there's any story, it's generally about the warden. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my take on it. I think it's definitely worth the rewatch and to start just from the pilot.
My opinion, this is an audio-only podcast, but me and my man Karl, my man Johnny can see each other. I'm on my 4th beer, so I might be getting a little too metaphorical and mixing it up with Super Throne Watch, talking about this hip-hop shit. But to be real, what I'm thinking is, if you get your news from Yahoo or from Google or from any of that shit, this ain't for you, man. If you get your news from World Star, if you get your news from these fucking crazy Twitter sites, this is for you, bro. This is a bullshit ass show for bullshit ass entertainment, man. We're not. It's I do think it is very unique and it is a different taste, but it's not something. If you're into cartoons, it's not something personally I would recommend to everyone. But if you're into bullshit, it's right up your alley, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Perfectly put.
I think that's a good place to wrap it on the SuperJail talk.
I think so. All right. Cool, Greg. Where can people find you?
All right, man. Don't come looking for me, man. Because the more you look for me, the more I'm going to hide, bro. I'm just trained to do it. But you can follow us at Kind of Funny Vids on Twitter. Also, check out our Twitch, man. Twitch.tv/KindofFunnyGames. We're live there every single day, 11 a.m. Come fuck with us. But me personally on Twitter, Kinda Cool Greg, man.
Okay, I need to specify. If you're not already, you need to be following Kinda Cool Greg on Twitter.
Yeah.
Not over exaggerating, it's the best Twitter on Twitter.
I don't know about that, man.
It's so good.
It's for everybody. Now we're on another thing, trying to win over a Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award blimp. We're gonna get that in our hands pretty darn soon.
That's 100%, man. We're gonna tweet our way to the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man,
I sincerely want that to be the first article we ever get written about our show. I don't want it to be someone writing a review. I want it to be someone being like, these schmucks got a Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award.
And it was stealing it from Lance Armstrong.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. Since you brought it up, I was biting my tongue. I saw this guy, Karl, tweeting about Lance Armstrong last night or maybe 2 days ago, and I was thinking, is he about to get this war? Is he going to get this heat right now? Because I might bring it to Lance Armstrong and be like, give us that shit. I don't understand the joke, though, so I didn't want to, come off offensive to Lance Armstrong or his fans. Man. But if I understood the joke a little bit more, I swear I'd have been in his DMs like, what's up, bro? Hold on, man.
No, absolutely.
Who you stealing blimps from, bro?
Real talk. Either he's going to give me his blimp or I'm going to be blocked on Twitter by the end of this month.
Hey, we're doing it, man. The one thing, though, speaking about being blocked on Twitter, is never put that I was blocked by in your bio. That's the corniest shit you could do, man. I'm putting that out there right now. If you ever got blocked by someone, even if you hate them, if you put you're blocked in their bio, you're cornball.
Yeah, he's right. All right, Karl, where can people find you?
People can find me at @KarlJacobs_. It's Karl with a K on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And not to hype him up too much, but this motherfucker be coming with the memes. I had him a week ago. I'd see him memeing himself. One of these Lance Armstrong things, he has a gun. It's like, what the hell? Yeah, so there's a difference, man. You want some words, I make you laugh, but you want some visual shit, go to my man Karl.
Dude, Karl posts and sends me the most surreal things I've ever seen, and it's hilarious every time.
I feel like I'm in an echo chamber with my stream, people that watch my stream, where they'll just make some of the wildest memes and just edits of me as a human being, and I absolutely need to share it sometimes.
Yeah, do you put them up? You don't make them?
I make a good amount of them, but some of those, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, it's crazy. All right, and then I am on pretty much any social media. You can reach me at mainly Twitter and Instagram at Johnny Hayes with 2 H's, so JohhnnyHaze. You can get our show at our Twitter is Toon Overload, our Instagram is Toon Overload Show, and our email cartoonoverloadshow@gmail.com if you have any concerns, suggestions, guests, cartoons you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
Hit us up there.
We've been frequenting that email, so make sure you guys send us anything you guys might be interested in. Or if you want to be like a guest or something, we're totally down.
Yeah, 100%, man. If they don't get back to you, DM me and I'll get to them, man. Don't worry about that. I was already telling my man Rudio. I want my man Rudio to be on here talking about Aqua Teen Hunger Force. We see if we can make that happen.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Cool Greg, for being on the premiere episode of Toon Overload.
Let's get it!
We don't have a sign off yet, so I guess I sign off for episode 1 is officially S Get It. So S Get It, everyone.
Thank you. S Get It.